In a video that I've previously made about Instagram, I discussed that I signed up to the Instagram platform so that I could have a place in which to display and to share my art. It was never anything significantly more than that. Now, of course, there is that nugget of hope that your page will become popular and you'll reach thousands and beyond. But with this regard, I've been pretty good at managing my expectations, and I guess I am a pretty realistic person on the most part. But though I've always seen the platform as just a place where I could share my art, I have always taken pride and care in the presentation of my art and of myself. So there was always that, presenting my work in a way that it was made clear that I had thought it out in sense of flow and color and light and stuff like that. Now, please keep in mind that, like with my previous video on the topic, this opinion is more directed towards individuals who started their Instagram page with the purpose of having somewhere to showcase their art. It's not necessarily for individuals who joined to make money. So with that in mind, it is safe to say that I care to a certain degree. And with the shift that came with Instagram no longer being a platform that promotes still images, I was quite okay with that. I am actually quite okay with that. I will not allow myself to care about this thing that is completely out of my control. So what did I do? I kept posting still photography. And because my page is a small one that always experienced limited growth, I wasn't expected by this idea of my photos going to nowhere and to virtually nobody. But this blatant shift, or the reality of that algorithm, became apparent to me when I decided to, with intention, give this reel thing a go. I figured that I could always delete the reel if I became overwhelmed with my betrayal of my own principles. You know, I am an artist and I shall not conform, stuff like that. I decided to toss that aside for a moment, and I stayed true to my grid. It would still be an upload of the photo that was next in the planned grid, but instead of posting it as a still in of itself, it was a still in a reel where I talked to my phone about the photo, adding audible insight to the photo instead of solely relying on captions to do so. Super easy, the most basic edit, no script, just a raw moment discussing the image that was gonna be posted as a still anyway. I went back a couple hours later and the reel got like 13,000 hits and I had like 10 new followers, which is remarkable for my page. Now, though that high number of hits was nice, that isn't what I'm most happy with. In trying to figure out my way of adapting, I found a fun way to keep sharing my stills, to talk about the photos and the experiences or the stories that surround them. And in many ways, it is nicer than typing it out, and it's easier to get more of my personality out. My humor can sometimes be dry, and typing it out can come across as arrogant. So in fear of this, I hold back a lot. The ability to use my actual voice to discuss the photo has added an entirely new element or dimension to how I share my work on Instagram. And this came about through my desire to adapt as opposed to conform or refusing to conform. So in this particular instance, by setting aside my ego and kind of letting go of my need to prove a point by sticking to stills, because that's what I'm here for, by kind of manipulating and mixing up the concept of still posting stills while making it a reel, I took advantage of what I knew I wanted Instagram to be for me, and I turned that to my advantage, and I did that in a kind of let's see what happens kind of way. Now, complacency to a system is by no means my answer to our issues as artists, but I do think it's important to sometimes take a step back and distinguish between principle and ego. They can definitely go hand in hand and they can work in harmony, but I sometimes think that the ego component can blind us. And I'm not saying that I agree with the direction that Instagram has taken. I think it's quite stupid for a multi-billion-dollar picture sharing company that can't even handle a skateboarding hashtag to change its strategy in response to TikTok. What I think I'm trying to say is that I made an active decision to give even less of a shit about a platform that has never cared about me. So instead of sticking to my guns to kind of stick it to the man, I kind of shifted things a bit. I ended up creating a new way to discuss and share information about my photos with individuals that I was already connected with and with those that I'm still connecting with. Something cool that I've also found is that this method of posting my images within a reel is that the reel page is set out in a way that nicely spaces out your work if you post them in the method you'd originally intended. And I'm finding that the reel page of my profile provides a refreshing break from the tightly packed squares that I've become accustomed to. This isn't the first time that I did the whole let's give it a go thing. I did try YouTube Shorts, and I did this knowing that they too introduced this in response to TikTok. And though my views were higher on certain shorts in comparison to other videos that I'd been publishing around that time, I wasn't satisfied with the act of sharing shorts. It didn't feel right, so I stopped. But I guess I set my ego aside and tested it out anyway, just to see what would happen. We live in a society that predominantly functions on capitalistic values. I don't agree with many aspects of it, and I am vocal about it within specific circles and audiences, but I'm not going to cut my progress for the sake of being stubborn. Do I hope that Instagram changed things back to being kind to stills? Yes, I prefer sharing stills there. Do I like Instagram? Not really, but this is one of the places that I have my art up, and I've been curating my art pieces there since like 2016. Do I hope that Vero succeed? Yes, I'm still figuring out how I'm going to present myself there, but I'm happy for a fresh start. And I guess I should say that I'm not making this video in response to anyone else that is complaining or discussing the negatives. I do think that you should do you, do what's right for you, but don't sell yourself short just to satisfy your ego or to prove a point. At the risk of sounding quite cynical, these platforms don't care. And as far as I can tell, I think that the majority of the individuals discussing this or complaining about Instagram are still on Instagram, and they're still sharing on Instagram. If you have your own opinions on these topics, I do think that you should share them. If you feel the need to complain, you definitely should. But just don't limit yourself to prove a point. If anything, try those new different platforms, try alternative methods, try alternative platforms and apps. Explore what smaller companies have to offer you and harness all the tools that you have at your disposal, both online and in the physical world. Learn to talk to actual people, face-to-face conversations about your art and about your passions, no matter how shy or scared you are. You owe it to yourself to get your art out there and to get it out everywhere. This opinion won't sit with everyone, but I'm sharing it in case it resonates with you. YouTube, hello, my name is Natalie. I'm an aspiring fine art photographer and a part-time filmmaker. I have loads of different types of videos here on YouTube, and I invite you to check out my channel. If you enjoy what you see, I also invite you to subscribe and hit the bell notification to be notified when I upload videos weekly. That's it for today, folks. Don't forget to keep taking photos, keep making videos, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you in the next one.